The blood games begin. The crowd roared as fire shot into the alien sky, painting the spires of the Colosseum of Vierzol in molten light. Millions watched from tiered seats. Trillions more tuned in across the galaxy. The tricentennial Apex trials had begun, the most brutal, revered blood sport in the Confederation. 48 champions, 48 species, one victor. This was more than a competition. It was a declaration, a right of dominance. To win was to etch your species' name into history, to be feared, respected, imitated. Entire economies had risen or fallen on the results of the trials. And at the top of it all sat the apex warrior himself, Threxel of the Kar Dominion. Threxel watched from his obsidian throne, jaw flexing with anticipation. 9 feet tall, muscle stacked on muscle, his hide shimmered with armor-plated scales. His kind had been bioforged for war, their bloodlines refined in gene vats. For over a century, he had not known defeat. Around him, screens flickered with combatants being announced. The arena floor below shifted and reformed, a technological marvel able to mimic any terrain. Fire swamps, zero-G chambers, broken starship husks. Trumpets blared as the first fighter stepped forward, a hulking crystal warrior from the Xanthary clade. Towering, silent, it glimmered like a living monolith. Behind it came a swarm-bodied tactician from the Min Hive, shifting in fluid formation. Then a winged serpentine killer from Tarsith Prime, her feathers crackling with biostatic energy. Each was deadlier than the last. Commentators narrated with glee. Wagers exploded. Spectators screamed in 25 languages. The trials were spectacle, religion, blood-soaked entertainment. Then came the moment of silence. The last entrant. The final gate hissed open. A single figure walked into the arena. She was small, human. She wore a threadbare flight suit. No armor, no visible weapons. Her hair was tied in a short, practical braid. No cybernetics, no implants. Her movements were quiet, controlled, deliberate. Her name flashed on the screens. Lyra Quinn, Terran nominee. A ripple of confusion passed through the crowd. The Confederation's datanet buzzed with questions. Who was this child? Was this a joke? Some last-minute substitution? Humans weren't warriors. They were engineers, diplomats, scavengers. Their world had only been admitted into the Confederation 47 years ago. Threxel chuckled, deep and cruel. They send a child to a slaughterhouse. One of the commentators laughed. Maybe Earth misunderstood the invitation. This is the Apex Trials, not a poetry contest. Another added, the humans' odds currently sit at 1 in 12 million. Lowest in history. Lyra said nothing. She walked across the arena floor, her boots silent on the shifting metal. In the staging area, the other champions eyed her with contempt, amusement, or simply ignored her entirely. She was beneath them. She stood alone, arms at her sides, eyes scanning the arena. Her gaze met Threxel's. He bared his fangs in a grin. She didn't blink. In a side chamber, Confederation techs scanned her vitals. No augments, no weaponized enhancements, no energy fields or neural dampeners. She was, by all data, a baseline human, not even a soldier. Her file listed no combat records, no planetary defense credentials. Just independent applicant, Earth's unanimous nomination. Earth had sent her, and only her. No explanation. One tech whispered, "Is this some kind of protest?" "Or suicide," said another. Back in the arena, the crowd began to boo. Some demanded her removal. Others laughed harder. But a few, just a few, watched with narrowed eyes. In the observation box, a warrior philosopher named H-Car of the Lyrian Path tilted his head. Why would a fragile species risk mockery in the galaxy's deadliest arena? Unless they knew something we didn't. His fellow observer scoffed. Or maybe humans are just as foolish as we believed. But Lyra stood still, watching the others. Measuring. Calculating. She took one slow breath. The first duel was announced. The arena shifted into a desert plain as 2 monstrous fighters stepped forward to begin the opening round. Lyra turned, walked to the edge of the combatant bench, and sat, silent, composed. She didn't look worried. She looked ready, fragile meat skin. By the end of the first round, 3 warriors lay dead, and the sands of the arena were soaked in blood. The crowd screamed for more. The air pulsed with violence, raw and intoxicating. Lyra Quinn remained seated at the edge of the combatant bench, untouched and unnoticed. Her flight suit bore no insignia, only a faint burn across one sleeve, old, faded. Her posture was relaxed, yet perfectly aligned. She watched every movement with a predator's stillness. On the upper tier, Confederation analysts were baffled. No offensive implants, no psychic shielding, not even adrenal boosters, one muttered, scrolling through her scan logs again. Check again. No one enters the Apex trials without a combat rig, another replied. She's clean, the first tech confirmed. She's just a girl. The murmurs of disbelief rippled across broadcast channels. On military forums, theories brewed. Hidden tech, biological cloaking, stealth enhancers. But deep scans showed nothing. No tricks, no deception, just a human. Unarmed, unaugmented. The running commentary mocked her presence. This just in, Earth sends an emotional support mammal into the deadliest tournament in the galaxy. Stay tuned as the apex predator stubs, its claw tripping over the soft one. Threxel watched her from the throne, arms crossed. Every few minutes, his yellow eyes drifted toward the girl. He didn't smile now. He studied. Below, the second match began. A Minhive tactician deployed its swarm drones, encircling a 2-headed brute from Yerrickville. In minutes, the brute's throats were sealed with venom and its legs chewed to bone. Lyra's eyes narrowed slightly, tracking the rhythm of the swarm. A quiet voice spoke behind her. You don't belong here. She turned. The speaker was tall, wrapped in layered bone armor, forearms folded across his chest. His nameplate read, Z.H. Carr, Lurian disciple of Pathfong. His kind were known not only for their martial prowess, but their reverence of philosophy in combat. I know, Lyra said simply. And yet, you volunteered. I was sent. Z.H. Carr tilted his head. Sent to die, or to teach. Lyra didn't answer. She looked back at the arena. A quiet beat passed. He followed her gaze. The hive fights without rhythm. It believes speed is truth. That is its flaw. Her eyes flicked to him. You see it too. Z.H. Carr smiled faintly. You've studied. Strange for a species so young. She stood slowly. We've been underestimated before. From the arena floor, a Klent brute glared up at her. It was the size of a tank, its skin armored with volcanic plating, its maw dripping heat-resistant acid. It barked something guttural in its native tongue. The translation appeared on nearby screens. I'll use your bones to clean my claws, fleshling. Lyra didn't react. Z.H. Carr asked quietly, Do you intend to fight them all, girl? She shook her head. Just one. A pause. You mean the apex, he said. Lyra nodded. Z.H. Carr's eyes sharpened. What? She turned to him. Because we only needed one moment. He stepped back, the words catching him off guard. The arena changed again. Now a shattered moonscape, craters and jagged obsidian scattered across the terrain. Fighters moved in shadows, striking and vanishing. Lyra walked forward, slowly stretching her fingers. Calm. Focused. Z.H. Carr called after her. Whatever Earth taught you, it better be enough. She glanced over her shoulder, eyes cold and quiet. It was never about what they taught me. It's about what no one else bothered to learn. In the control chamber, a senior Confederation strategist leaned over a console. She's showing no aggression, no competitive instinct. Is this performance art? Maybe Earth's just trying to remind us they exist. Another chuckled. Well, she'll be out in the next round. Her brackets against Threxel. The room went silent. One voice confirmed, yes. Human entrant Lyra Quinn will face reigning Apex warrior Threxel in direct duel. No one laughed this time. Lyra returned to her seat. Threxel stood slowly on the far end of the arena platform, cracking his neck. His claws gleamed in the light. The crowd erupted. This was the moment they were waiting for. A slaughter. A spectacle. She exhaled. Quietly. Once. No tension. No fear. Just stillness. One strike. The crowd's roar shook the foundations of the arena, as the ground morphed into its final form, a flat expanse of obsidian tiles, lit from below by glowing magma veins. The perfect stage for a spectacle of dominance. A kill floor. At either end, two gates opened. From the left, Threxel emerged, the reigning apex warrior. Each step of his clawed feet sent microquakes through the tiles. His armored body was a living weapon, engineered for speed, power, and destruction. 12 confirmed arena kills. No wounds. No survivors. From the right, Lyra Quinn walked forward alone. She didn't stride. She didn't pose. She simply moved. No weapons. No armor. Just breath. A silence crept in beneath the cheers. Not everyone was cheering anymore. Some had gone quiet, uneasy. Something about the way she walked, measured, relaxed, alert, didn't fit the image of a sacrificial lamb. Threxel snarled across the arena. You should have run. Meat skin. Lyra stopped 10 feet away. She didn't answer. A shimmering field locked into place around the perimeter. Unbreakable containment. A horn sounded. The duel had begun. Threxel didn't wait. He exploded forward, moving faster than any being his size should. A blur of claws and armored limbs, jaws opening to tear. Lyra exhaled. Slowly. Tom didn't slow, but her perception did. She stepped to her left, just enough. Threxel's charge missed by inches, claws swiping past empty air. He snarled, twisting mid-run, tail sweeping toward her head. She ducked. One smooth, effortless motion. Then she moved. 3 steps forward. Left foot turns. Right hand opens. Elbow down. Her palm met his solar plexus. 1 inch in, just under the sternum. Still point. To the crowd, it looked like nothing. To Threxel, it was a rupture in reality. He stopped moving. No cry. No collapse. He simply froze, then dropped like a puppet with its strings cut. His body landed with a thunderous crunch. Dust billowed out in all directions. The crowd went dead silent. No one moved. No one spoke. The scanners beeped twice. Then flatlined. Threxel was dead. From a single, open-handed strike. In the control tower, panic erupted. He's down. Run it again. That can't be right. She didn't hit him hard enough to bruise, let alone kill. It's not physical trauma, said a third, voice shaking. She disrupted his entire nervous system. Delayed shock. His body didn't even register it until it shut down. That's impossible. She didn't fight him, said the analyst, staring at the freeze frame. She unmade him. On the arena floor, Lyra stood still. She didn't pose, didn't celebrate. She stepped back, lowered her hand, and exhaled again. The silence was heavier than any applause. Then the crowd erupted, not in cheers, but in disbelief, in fear, in awe. Screens across the Confederation replayed the moment from every angle. Over and over. Slowed down. Zoomed in. But the strike remained the same. Precise, clean, effortless. A move no one had seen before. No tech. No cheat. No enhancements. Just a strike. ZH Carr, watching from the benches, whispered. Still point. It was real. A younger warrior beside him turned. What is that? An old Lyrian myth. A form of human martial discipline. One that touches the moment between motion and force. Where action becomes inevitability. The youth frowned. But it's just a story. ZH Carr's eyes stayed locked on Lyra. It was. Lyra turned, walking calmly toward the gate. One of the commentators finally spoke, his voice raw. Well, that was the end of Threxel. Another stammered. That was the end of everything we thought we knew about humans. Back in the waiting zone, fighters who had once dismissed her now stood apart. Some bowed their heads slightly. Others wouldn't meet her eyes. She didn't care. She wasn't here for their approval. Lyra sat down again, her breath steady. A voice came over the intercom, shaking with reverence. Combatant Lyra Quinn, winner by confirmed fatality. Victory granted. She closed her eyes. Just one move. That was all it ever took. Echoes of a single strike. It took 12 seconds for Lyra Quinn to kill Threxel. It took 12 hours for the Confederation to descend into chaos. Every broadcast replayed the moment. Angles layered with slow-motion analysis and biometric overlays. Alien news feeds called it impossible. Military leaders called it historic. Scholars called it a paradigm shift. One strike, one death, one human, and the galaxy would never look at Earth the same again. In the chambers of the Confederation High Council, arguments raged. Are we to believe this girl, this unmodified baseline, defeated a war-forged apex with her bare hands? It was no trick. We've run the footage through every analysis protocol. No time dilation. No invisible weapon. The girl moved, the strike connected, and Threxel died. She's a walking weapon. Earth has concealed a threat. Or a lesson. The room quieted at that. A Lyrian representative stepped forward, his voice calm. We all assumed humanity's value lay in their machines, their adaptability, their diplomacy. But perhaps we missed something older, something deeper. They have cultivated disciplines we dismissed as primitive. Then why have they hidden it until now? The Lyrian gave a faint smile. Would you reveal your sharpest blade at a banquet? On Earth, Lyra walked alone along a forest trail in the Appalachian Hills 2 days after her return. She wore civilian clothes now. No medals, no press. The planet had demanded her home the moment the trials ended. The Confederation wanted to keep her, study her. Earth refused. She had no interest in interviews. Just quiet. A soft voice interrupted her thoughts. Still point. She turned. ZH stood there, arms folded behind his back. He wore ceremonial robes, not armor. I didn't expect you here, she said. I requested diplomatic access the moment the council adjourned, he said. They were surprisingly compliant. I imagine they're nervous. They should be. He stepped closer, studying her. Your people knew the galaxy saw you as weak. You let them believe it. What? Lyra looked up at the trees. Because survival isn't about power. It's about timing. ZH nodded slowly. In precision. They stood in silence. Then he said, the Lyrian path believed Stillpoint was a myth. A metaphor. But your strike, it was real. You confirmed something lost to history. Lyra's voice was quiet. It's not a technique. It's a mindset. The moment before action, where everything exists and nothing yet has form. You don't perform Stillpoint. You enter it. And how many on your world know it? She turned. Enough. ZH looked down, thoughtful. The Confederation will fear you now. They'll wonder how many more like you there are. They'll calculate. They'll prepare. Lyra shrugged. Good. Elsewhere, across military academies on a dozen worlds, new training modules were being uploaded under urgency flags. Subject, human biomechanics. Case study, Lyra Quinn. Emergent threat profile, baseline human combat. But all the metrics failed to explain the truth. Because it wasn't about speed or strength or genetics. It was about understanding. Understanding the moment. 3 weeks later, Earth's ambassador addressed the Confederation. Humans are not seeking dominance. We don't crave thrones. But we will not be misjudged. We will not be ignored. The speech rippled across species. Some praised it. Others called it a veiled threat. A few declared Earth ascendant. But most simply watched the quiet planet on the outer spiral, home to a species that had once been underestimated, mocked, dismissed, and now feared. In the quiet of her cabin, Lyra watched the sun rise over the valley. She held a cup of tea in both hands. The trials were over. The galaxy had changed. But to her, nothing felt different. Stillness remained. That was her gift. And her burden. She set the cup down, breathed in. Stillpoint wasn't about killing. It was about knowing the exact moment when action became unavoidable and choosing it with precision. She had no desire to fight again. But if the time came, she would know.